I have the distinguished honor of introducing my dear friend for a long time, friend of the Latin Chamber of Commerce, friend of our community, the Honorable Congresswoman Dina Titus, to kick us off.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Peter. You're always too kind. But if it weren't for your leadership in this community, and I don't mean just the Hispanic community, I mean the whole thing, we wouldn't have recovered as well or as quickly as we did. So it's been a great working relationship. Kendall, nice to see you. Mr. Chairman, always a pleasure to be on the panel. And thank all of you for coming here. It's so great to have the International Franchise Association meeting in District 1. So welcome. And you're also a big part of our recovery. I was just going to make a few kind of general comments about some of the federal programs that have been helping to support small businesses. And you probably know this better than I do because you've been on the front lines. But we have recovered very well in Nevada. There's more to do. We got to finish the job. But certainly we've come a long way from 3 years ago in the pandemic. You know, Las Vegas was one of the hardest hit places in the country. As a metropolitan area, we had the highest unemployment, about 35%. You hadn't seen those kind of numbers since the Great Depression. And now we've recreated all those jobs, and we've dropped that down to about 4.5% to 5%. So that's an amazing economic recovery of people getting back to work. And so we're proud of that. We know there's a way to go, but we also know that the main part of that is small business. They are the engine of the economy, and their recovery has certainly made a difference. Just to share some of the statistics with you, as far as franchises go, you know, they have also rebounded to pre-pandemic levels of 2021, and it's projected that franchises will grow faster in the Southwest than any other part of the country. In fact, Nevada is among the top 10 states for franchise growth just last year. We have over 8,000 franchise locations providing jobs for over 102,000 Nevadans and producing $11 billion in revenue. That is certainly an impressive set of figures and what makes us a business-friendly state and help to make our recovery. I know that y'all are going to be talking about the franchises, the International Franchise Association's new program, Open for Opportunity. That sounds like your slogan, Peter. You've done so much to help the businesses in our community. And, you know, we have so many new businesses. Nevada ranks among the top 2 for creation of new small businesses, and a high percentage of those are created in our minority communities and also by minority women. And that's, again, another statistic that we need to brag about. Just some of the things that the federal government has done that I'm pleased to have been part of. You know, it started with the American Rescue Plan, then was the infrastructure bill, and then the Inflation Reduction Bill. All of those put money back into the economy to help small businesses stay in operation, to help them cover utility costs, help them keep some people on the payroll. Now, Las Vegas is a little different from a lot of places. Not only is so much tied directly to hospitality and tourism, but all the ancillary businesses that support that, whether it's laundry services or flower shops or travel agents. It includes a lot of things in our economy outside of just the big gaming resorts, and we should never forget that. A couple of things, though, that were special to our community. One was the shuttered venues, so that places that provide entertainment could access some of these funds. Also, our restaurant businesses, there were special carve-outs for restaurant businesses, and we worked together with the association to be sure that franchisees could receive some of those PPP loans. So all of those things really made a big difference in terms of the recovery, and I was glad to co-sponsor some of those, including that restart bill that your association worked so hard on. One other little thing, I chaired and now am the ranking member of the Subcommittee for Economic Development. And that's kind of an unsung hero kind of agency. We need to take more advantage of what that has to offer. We need to reauthorize it. we need to fund it, and we need to go after some of that money for Southern Nevada. One carve-out that I was able to get there was a special appropriation for communities hard hit by the lack of tourism. We want to make that a permanent part of the EDA so that Las Vegas can apply for more easily some of those funds. So those are the kind of things I'm working on. I value so much your partnership. I enjoy coming to ribbon cuttings and being part of things that you do in the district, and I'm just really honored to be with this distinguished panel and have the association meeting here in Las Vegas. So thank you very much, Peter.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Congresswoman, again, Mike Lehman, International Franchise Association. Thank you so much for joining us here as we come to your fine city, joining this distinguished group. We appreciate everything you do in Congress, particularly everything around small business funding and PPP coming out of the pandemic. We also thank you for all your work co-chairing the House Travel and Tourism Caucus, hugely helpful for all of our restaurants, and it's not even on. Do I need to say all that again?
What were you saying?
Yeah. So, Congresswoman, thank you for all you do on the in the House, again, co-chairing the Travel and Tourism Caucus. Thank you for everything you did on PPP coming out of the pandemic, and we're just thrilled you're here and for all your support. So,
Thank you for having me.
I just want to reiterate, I can't tell you that during the pandemic how many times we were able to talk to the Congresswoman. I'm talking about morning, day, night. Her cell phone, I have it, and she's not afraid to give it out, and she was there for us. And a lot of businesses that are open today are still open because of Congresswoman Dina Titus. You gonna stick around for a little bit? All right. It's more than okay. How can I tell you no?
Thought I was getting the hook there for a second.
So, anyways, let's kick it off. My name is Peter Guzman. I have the privilege and honor of being the president of the Latin Chamber of Commerce, Nevada. I took over that role for a real giant in our community named Otto Merida, and who was president for 40 years, and I have now been president starting my 6th year. And very proud of this building that you're in. We're very proud to say that we own this building free and clear. We may be the only chamber, or at least one of the only chambers in the United States that has its own charter school upstairs, where kids and a whole lot of minority kids are taking full advantage of the fact that they can earn their college credits at the same time that they're graduating from high school. It's been a real game changer. So I'm very proud of that. And I'm proud of this whole campus that we own. We have a senior center next door. And this has been a life-changing place for a lot of people. And so thank you for coming to the Latin Chamber of Commerce, where, you know, every day we try to fight for the small business owner. This was particularly exciting because, you know, franchises and franchisee owners are a huge group of members of our chamber. And when I tell you that I know people of color that have become millionaires or very successful through owning a franchise, I know those guys. I know those people. They're members of this chamber. So this thing is real, and it's real personal for me. So just grateful that IFA is here. Thankful to my friend Julie Walburn, who does so much hard work in the community. And now I'd just like to turn it over to each one of you guys to do a brief introduction of yourself. And thank you, everybody, for being here.
Peter, thank you for that. And let me thank this distinguished room now for also joining. This is going to be a treat for us. And we're, on behalf of the IFA, we are thrilled to be in Las Vegas. We are...
He's good.
It's on now, right?
He's good.
I'm getting signals from all these directors.
Terrific.
This is a TV guy here.
I know. Yeah,
Thanks,
doing great.
Kendall.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on it.
I got you.
Yeah, thanks. It's good to have pros around you. We are thrilled to be in Las Vegas. On behalf of IFA, we're bringing 4,000 franchise business people to Mandalay Bay over the course of the next few days for our annual show. We've got some great franchise people around the room. As the Congresswoman noted, over 8,000 franchise businesses across Nevada. So huge economic footprint. Everyone's doing much better after the recovery. And again, thank you, Congresswoman, for all of your efforts. But we're in town a few days early from our convention as part of IFA's Open for Opportunity campaign. You see all the signage. This is our pro-franchising education campaign. We've been in we've been in 10 metropolitan areas over the course of the last year, and we're thrilled to spend a couple days in Vegas ahead of our show, really promoting the value of franchising, the local contributions and opportunity for those 8,000 businesses and over 100,000 upwardly mobile workers. So that's what this conversation is all about. We're thrilled Peter would host us. We'll be here for 90 minutes, and if there's any time at the end, Peter has promised to sing Sinatra. So we look forward to that, to cap off the program, and so stick around. So thank you, and I'll turn it to, he's already sung Sinatra.
We'll do mariachis next.
Thank you. I'll turn it to Becky now.
Hi, my name is Becky Torres, and I am the franchisee in Las Vegas, and as of a month ago, Henderson for Bright Star Care, which is a home health care company.
Hi everyone, my name is Pat Navarro-Whistle, and I am a McDonald's owner-operator, and I've been with McDonald's for 38 years. We own and operate 6 McDonald's restaurants here in Las Vegas.
Great story.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Sonny Benuya, and I'm with the Joe Lombardo's office. Thank you.
Good afternoon. We love the Beckys and Pats of the world, so thank you for opening up your businesses. I'm Amber Stidham with the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance. Our role is really to generate, diversify our economy, and generate economic revenue. But part of that also relies heavily on the total ecosystem that we build here as a community, and certainly franchises are a big part of that. So nice to be here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Winnie Wong. I'm with the Asian Chamber. I'm a former McDonald's owner-operator, retired after 47 years, so glad to be here.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anna Wood, Government Affairs Chair and a member of the Board of Directors of the Las Vegas Asian Chamber of Commerce. I'm very pleased to be here and just participate in this panel.
Hi, Nick Maldonado, co-founder and CEO of Toro Taxes. Founded right here in our backyard, Las Vegas, now 247 locations across 25 states in the U.S.
I'm Jim Gibson. I'm the chairman of the Clark County Commission, and I have eaten at virtually every franchise in Las Vegas.
Very well. We're thrilled Kendall could join us. And Kendall and I think are going to sort of yin-yang this conversation and lead some of the questions, pose them to the group, and facilitate things. So Kendall, welcome, and feel free to kick off the conversation.
All right, it is my pleasure to be here surrounded by so many brilliant minds. And I want to start off I'll direct questions to an individual, but I would love everyone to chime in and hear your insight as well. Let's start with you, Peter, and talk about the data that indicates that there is a unique opportunity for people of color when it comes to franchises, because the numbers show that 26% of franchises are owned by minorities compared to 17% of other small businesses. So why is that so, and what is the chamber doing to further that?
Well, and thank you so much, and Kendall, thank you for all you've done in our community for so long. I really appreciate you very much. So listen, franchises, I think, give a unique opportunity. I think one of the reasons why you see it is, somebody could actually go from working in the back of the house, that's Vegas terms, I think, right? Back of the house of a restaurant, McDonald's, and could end up owning one. We know those people. And so, that ability, first of all, we know that those have traditionally been startup jobs, right? You're a teenager, you go to work, McDonald's or one of the franchises, and some of them actually dream about ending up owning one of those. And so it's a tremendous opportunity and chance to grow wealth, become successful. And imagine those stories of going, from cooking in the back to actually owning one. That's the story of the franchises in this country. I'm sure, many stories like that. And so, I hate to say this, but a lot of times it's the minorities that are getting those jobs while they're working in high school or trying to provide, help out the family members that have 3 generations in their house. It's those small places. So they tend to go there anyways. So here at the Latin Chamber, we let those folks know. And we're loud about it. You're there. Learn every single thing you can learn about that restaurant so you can own it. And we encourage it. We encourage it through entrepreneur training, through programs like Avanzad that's going on now. We train these folks to not just be in a place to just be there, but let's learn every bit of that operation so you can own it. And guess what? We're going to help you with capital too, because we have access to capital here at the Latin Chamber. We're proud of that. And so I think that's why you see a higher minority participation in owning franchises.
It's really interesting you talk about starting as a cook and moving your way up, because that is Bill's story. You were in high school when you started working at your first McDonald's, is that right?
And there is many of those McDonald's stories. Patricia probably one of them too. As a staff, we became own operator. Peter, you hit it right on, because it's about learning the business. And if you put your heart to it and you love the business, that's very important. You love the business, then you stick with it. And I grew up in McDonald's, 1971 until a few years ago, from a crew person to management, and then eventually staff, and then become own operator. So this is American dream that we all dream of. And it's still happening, and it still can be a dream for everybody.
And Bill still gets a McDonald's coffee every morning, right? Yeah.
Kendall, if I could jump in just for a second, because I wanted to ask, we're obviously thrilled to be hosted by Peter at the Latin Chamber of Commerce, and franchising really is all about opportunity for people who didn't go to Stanford Business School or whatever it is. So I wanted to turn to our 2 franchisees here to my left and ask Becky and Patricia, just would you tell us a little bit about your small business story, how you got into business, and maybe sprinkle in a little bit about why franchising as opposed to Becky's home care?
So Becky's home care would have been an epic failure. So my story is I grew up in Las Vegas, and I was a former teacher and stay-at-home mom. My husband was the regional vice president for Trader Joe's and was traveling all over the western United States. And we had small children at the time, and he came home one day and he said, I am miserable. He would leave on a Sunday night and come home on a Friday night and work all weekend. And the kids would grab on his legs in the morning and cry, and he was a walking heart attack waiting to happen. And so he came to me one day and said, I'm going to go back to Trader Joe's and ask if I can just go back to managing a store. And at that time, we didn't know if they were going to say, see you later, here's the door. And he looked at me and said, we should start a business, which meant I should start a business. And I tell the story of sitting on my couch on a hot August day, Googling my way into owning a business. And I am not joking when I say Google literally got me to owning a home healthcare company. And I looked at every single thing that was out there, and I kept going back to healthcare. There was something that spoke to me. And we took the plunge, and I said there is no way I could have done this without a franchise behind me. I knew nothing about business. When I went to my opening training back in Gurnee, Illinois, I have a sticky note still that I keep that says, figure out what EBITDA means. So I had a lot to learn, and I said, I think I'm the poster child for it in the sense that there were people that were in my class with me that were former business owners. They had MBAs. They knew way more than I did. And I was the sponge that said, we're leveraging everything we have, our house, everything. If you tell me I have to stand on Las Vegas Boulevard in a chicken suit, I will do it. Thankfully, it never came to that. But they told me what to do, and I ran with it. And I followed the model, and thankfully it really, really worked out.
Well, let's see, first of all, I have to say that I love working for McDonald's. And I have to say that I feel like I almost have ketchup in my veins. McDonald's is a great brand to work for. You know, it's considered to be the 6th most valuable brand in the world. So I love working for them. But I think the best part that I love about McDonald's is that it always takes care of its people. And so that's how my story comes around, because I actually started as a crew person. I was washing dishes in the back. I worked my way into management. I was 17 years old at the time, a single mom, and so I wanted to have a better life for my son. And so I started to look at the management development program that McDonald's had. And at the age of 20 years old, I became a restaurant manager, running a $3 million business back in the 1990s. I mean, who else gives someone an opportunity like that, right, Bill? Who else does that? It's McDonald's. And so I continued to do that, and I just love the brand. And so being a franchise for me is really important, because we give those types of opportunities to others. We have many of our employees that started as crew people that are now department managers, store managers. And the nice thing about that is that you get to see their growth as well. You get to see them become, fulfill their dreams of buying their first car, buying their first home. And I'm happy to say that all of our store managers now own their own homes, because of the opportunities that we gave them. And it's also an opportunity for my family, because my husband is also now an approved owner-operator. And I have 3 kids, and they're all involved in the business. And they're pursuing the second-gen program that McDonald's also has to offer. So that's kind of a little bit about my story.
2 great stories. Really appreciate it.
Can I jump in here?
Please do.
The franchises do so much for the individuals in their companies, but they are also good corporate partners for the community. They give a lot of money in charity. They have profit-sharing programs for their employees. I know they give scholarships. So it's the whole package. It's not just the franchisee. It's what they contribute to the community at large.
Congresswoman, you're so right, and I'll just add to Patricia's great story. When you drive past a McDonald's, a lot of people, despite the opportunities in franchising, a lot of people may not realize that there's any difference between the McDonald's model and the Walmart or the Starbucks. But what you find is the opportunity in franchising is such that no matter how hard you work at a Walmart or a Starbucks, you're never going to own the Walmart or the Starbucks. But Patricia worked her way up from an employee to an owner of a McDonald's and made a great life for herself, and that's one of the opportunities in franchising.
And if I can just add something real quick to that, because I mean, growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. Our parents didn't have money, and so people always ask me, how did you manage to buy restaurants? Well, it was because when I was a store manager, McDonald's did give stock options to their employees, and I took those stock options and sold them to buy or to put the down payment on our first home. And then I sold that home to put the down payment on the restaurants. And so that's how we made that happen. And a lot of people don't know that 90% of 90% of the restaurants that McDonald's has are owned and operated by families like ourselves. And 50% of those are actually started as crew people, like Bill and I.
It's amazing. And Mike, you mentioned driving past McDonald's. I don't think I've ever driven past a McDonald's, I think. Yeah. I'm behind your success too. and Becky's. Becky, just before, you left out an important piece of the story. Yeah.
I actually used to work for Kendall, so.
I was waiting for me to be the inspirational part of the story.
He was. I looked at him one day and I said, you know what, you are an awesome boss, but I'm sad that I'm going to have to leave.
I drove her. Yeah, that's how bad it was for her. But it's been so great seeing success like that and to hear stories like yours and like Bill's. And also Nick's. Nick, you have the largest Latino tax franchise in America. And it's headquartered here in Las Vegas. It's absolutely amazing what you've done. in the span that since you opened the business. Why does the franchise model work so well for you in particular and for Las Vegas and then for the Latino community?
Thank you, Kendall, and for the intro. So I guess there's a vision behind it, right? I serve the Latino market in general. That's my focus. And the same applies in Las Vegas as it does nationally. There's a lack of attention, a lack of service. So you look at the bigger companies, at least in my industry, and they all, H&R Block, we know the names.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
I got the... Hello? Yeah, so the lack of representation, right? And applies across the country. So what we saw is just that. In the Latino sector of the tax industry, at least, it's all full of just mom and pop shops, no real infrastructure, no consistency. And that's what we did. We came in and introduced sophisticated or at least streamlined training systems, support centers. And I think the uniqueness or that special potion, if you will, is franchising. Why? Because I don't care if you're the best tax preparer in the world, or a shoemaker or a hairstylist or whatever service or product or skill set that a person might have to justify opening a business, right? Just because you're the best tax preparer in the world doesn't really matter if you're not good at marketing to let people know that you even exist. It doesn't matter if you'll never be able to scale and grow a workforce if you're not familiar with human resources. If you're not familiar with branding, you'll never be able to work faster or more efficiently if you're not familiar with technology, right? Systemization, automation. And that's where franchising comes in. You're really good at what you do at providing that service, but then you got the franchisor who already went through all those troubles, already jumped through all those hoops. They already know how to help you with marketing, with the technology, and all those little facets that people that want to start a business don't even know it exists until they run into it. And that's our secret sauce, if you will.
Let me ask this just to the entire panel here. One of the things about franchises is it can be so successful because of the support you're talking about, Nick, and what we've heard in the stories of McDonald's and others. Are there, though, things that people who are thinking about becoming a franchisee should be aware of and watch out for?
Well, you're asking the wrong person because I'm a franchisor. No, of course there's pros and cons to everything, right? If you're part of a franchise system, yeah, you have to pay royalties. But there's a lot that comes with that. There's people in my organization that started their business on their own and were in business by themselves for 15 years with one single location, and good for them. But not that they're part of our organization, they've been able to scale. Now they own 5, 6, 7 locations because they have that support, they have that backbone. When you want to open a new McDonald's or a new anything, and actually the whole Google story is exactly what I was talking about. You have to Google to learn how to open up a business. When you join a franchise, you skip all those steps. But yeah, you have to pay into royalties, you have to pay into marketing, but guess what? Now somebody's handling that marketing for you. So there's pros and there's cons. In the big picture of things, obviously I'm a strong believer in franchising.
Well, no doubt. And Mike, maybe I should address this to you. There are so many strong models like yours, like McDonald's, like yours, Becky. Are there some, Mike, that might not be a good fit for some people?
Kendall, the franchisor-franchisee relationship is such a symbiotic one. There are no franchisees without franchisors, and there's no franchisors without franchisees. And the best brands understand that the way to succeed is if your franchisees make money and doing everything they can as part of that royalty. So you get the brand, you get the trademark, you get all the services and resources that come in this business model. And it's why we say in franchising that you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And just think of the pandemic and coming out of COVID. I mean, if you were a standalone business that did not have a franchisor partner or a network of franchisees around you to crowdsource best information, how were you going to know to get in touch with Congresswoman Titus about accessing this brand new program called PPP, let alone other COVID compliance requirements of that era? That's just the most recent example coming out of the pandemic. But when you're in franchising, you have so many partners and a support system around you that are just fundamental to this business model. And it's very unique as opposed to standalone business like Becky's Home Care, which I'm sure would have done great, by the way.
It would have. It would have done.
Kendall, can I add something as well?
Please, yes.
And it's all true. Of course, when you're part of a franchise, there's a guide there for you, and they will help you get those resources. But the question kind of that you were asking also is, can they be prosperous as a franchise owner? And of course, the answer is always yes and no, right? It's more yes, but it really depends on a lot of factors. You still have to be a smart business owner. You still need to watch, you need to pick a good location. You need to watch expenses, right? It's up to you what kind of level you put as far as marketing and sales. So a lot of those pay into factor. Yeah, you pay royalties, but if you watch everything else, the royalties is just another cost of goods for you that you pay. So the answer is yes, as long as you run it well.
Well, that's a good point. Talking to Pat beforehand, I'm sorry, Bill beforehand, and Pat, I'm sure you can speak to this as well. You can have a McDonald's store, but it's not going to work unless you guys are hands-on.
I was going to say that earlier, that you really need to understand the foundation of the business. You have to know and understand everything, every detail of the business and how to run that business. And when I transitioned from the company side over to a franchisee, there was a lot of learnings for me. I didn't know where to go get, where to go file for the taxes, and where to go get licenses from, and I had to learn all that. It was kind of like a crash course. It was a lot to learn, but now it's become easier because I understand what I'm doing, and the classes that you guys offer, I think that's awesome to help businesses or people get into business.
Mike, you brought up the pandemic, and Chairman Gibson, you were mayor of North Las Vegas at that time, and it dramatically changed the way that all businesses operate. What are you seeing now as far as a recovery, and what is different now and working better that opens the doors for franchises?
Well, first off, the important thing for me has always been that these people invest of their own resources, and that is fundamental, whether it's what they have in their hearts and their minds or their dollars. And government has to do its part to stay out of the way when unnecessary, but to be there for them when they need us. I was the mayor in Henderson for 12 years, and over all that time, one of the things that we worked on literally every 6 months was how can we do a better job of interfacing with the business community. That was really critical to us. And at Clark County, it's been a little different because it's so massive. I mean, it's billions of dollars of budget and tens of thousands of business licensees. And that's something that is daunting when you think about affecting the one. But what happened to us during the pandemic was we began to discover that there were real deficiencies, real impediments. When things got tough, and they were tough for everybody, we had too many things that were in the way, and we had to move them out of the way. And it was not an easy thing for us because we're institutionalized. We aren't in prison institutionalized, but maybe for some of the things we were doing, we should have been. So as it turns out, we worked really hard to understand better what's happening in the trenches. And we did a pretty good job. We really did. I mean, we responded in ways. I wondered when I heard, first of all, that we were not going to revoke business licenses if people weren't paying their fees. We just weren't. We wanted the businesses to succeed, and whatever it took, and if that was a contribution we would make for a while, and then we would work on a way to help people get back into good standing, then we were going to do that. And it really changed the way business responded to our business license department. I mean, they felt more like we were kind of in it together. As it turns out, we made a commitment then, and we continue to commit that we aren't going to raise fees for anything. I mean, the last thing we're going to do right now for the foreseeable future is raise fees. First of all, not everyone is back, right, at full strength. We don't have midweek visitation. That's one of the measures we use in Clark County to get a sense of where is this economy really. Now, when you look at the way that the airport has performed, and all the flights that have come in, and what happens on the weekends, and what has happened to the live entertainment tax and the room tax, it almost looks like we should say, well, we're back. Well, no, we're not back. We're actually doing better in almost all of those fronts than we did in 2019, which was the banner year that we always compare ourselves to. But the problem is, all of the businesses that benefit from the flow of business activity between Monday and Friday are still lagging. There is still not the same commitment and the same success being enjoyed by them. So, you know, we did things like we counseled with businesses. If they needed to understand how to access federal programs, we actually provided some help to them. When they came to us and said, you know, we have to wear a mask and it's people won't come in and they can't come in, but we can be open and we can be cooking. Could we deliver? Would you allow us to do that? No, we have a special license for that. You know, you want to deliver, you got to file an application. You know, that was kind of the way it was then. And we said, you're right. No, let's let you cook your food, prepare it, and deliver it. Well, we've received, and you all are aware of the kind of mixed response to the third-party delivery programs. Those companies, I mean, they got to make money, so they charge, and so it's a little bit difficult because that's a cost of doing business that people hadn't ever had to confront before. But during the the pandemic, they needed to stay open. So of course we made it so that they could do that, and we approved those things. And then there are little things like culturally, there are some drinks. I'm told this, right? There are some drinks that are more cultural, but they don't fit into the beer and wine category that we had enforced for so many years, right? So if it had a little bit of spirits in it, somebody who serves beer and wine at a cultural restaurant couldn't satisfy what the customer was after. Well, we got to looking at that, and we asked ourselves something we should have asked ourselves 50 years ago. So, like, why do we have this limitation? Why shouldn't we allow that kind of activity? And so we do. We decided to get out of the way. It's been hard for us because government doesn't easily get out of the way. You need a great big flatbed to load up all the things on the flatbed to move them away when you're a government. And we've been working at that, and we've got a whole fleet of trucks that keep doing that. And we're going to continue to really be as business friendly as we can. And I hear stories every day about us not being so. And one-offs will always be there, right? But we're doing, I think, a very good job. And it's not just unique to Clark County. What we've tried to do is we've worked together, the business departments, so that we have kind of a uniform approach to things. And I think it's worked really well. And I think what's happened now is that over the course of time, there are a few more things we'll be rolling out in the next 6 months. And as we do that, we're going to find that it's even better and easier to do business here. And that's a real important reversal for us.
Can I just say, first of all, you, my friend, are business friendly. I knew that way before the pandemic, but during the pandemic, yeah, you are definitely business friendly, and you answer your phone, and you helped small businesses, and some of them are still open today because you took those calls. I mean, that's what we as chambers are here for, right? We're hearing from our folks, and we need elected officials like yourself and like the Congresswoman who will pick up their phone and just at least hear us out and maybe come up with a solution. And this community is much better off because of these two folks that we have here.
And of course, we'll strike from the record the question that rewrote your resume. They said there would be a teleprompter, and you know that changes everything. But this is a good segue to talk about the efforts to buoy up businesses in general, and especially to diversify the economy. And Amber, I wanted to ask this of you at the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, and I know you have to take off earlier, and I wanted to make sure we got to this question. What is it that you're doing to let people know that this is a great place to start a business, a franchise, open up a franchise, and what are some of the obstacles?
Thank you for that question. And just to be clear, there are economic development bills being heard this afternoon. Otherwise, I would not leave as a regional economic development agency representative. I think that's an excellent question. Well, first of all, as the regional representative for economic development, our role is to really provide be the primary advertiser, the brand for out-of-market business attraction. Like, what are we doing to really bring diverse industry to our state that can do produce products and provide services that largely generate revenue, that are sold outside of the state, that generate revenue inside of the state. Relative to that, we need a complete ecosystem of what the community needs, and that includes franchise businesses. They're part of that conversation, and then they're also part of just the general ecosystem of what makes a community tick. I can work together with my team in the state of Nevada and folks like Sonny and his team and the county and members of our Nevada delegation to bring industry here all day long, but they are interested in what the community looks like, what other available services are here in Southern Nevada, what the workforce looks like, where they're going to locate their businesses, but they want a complete picture. And oftentimes, they're also bringing members of their executive personnel with them as well. And they want to know, and their families want to know what kind of schools there are, what kind of communities there are. And these are the businesses around the table that are sponsoring our Little League teams. They're the ones that have a direct invested interest in our community, and so they're an important part of that. In terms of, I think you had asked, Kendall, about barriers. I think we really touched on a lot of that around the table already. And there are a lot of resources that exist. But one challenge, I think, is access to capital. We have those conversations, and I'm putting back on my old school chamber hat. I know the Asian Chamber and the Latin Chamber have been large proponents of how can we find creative opportunities to help provide access to capital for people, so we're not having to pull out equity in our personal assets, as you're hearing around the table. And the other part is, franchises provide a lot of guidance as to how to operate the business, but like you had heard, how else can the local communities help support them and make them continue to succeed? And you have organizations like Peters, who's having, an entrepreneur training program where they can find the resources that they need to succeed. I mean, that's, I think, where franchise owners can lean on the local chambers of commerce to provide a lot of that support, so.
And Anna, at the Las Vegas Asian Chamber of Commerce, that's some of your work as well, is helping people understand what challenges may be ahead and then helping them overcome those.
That's correct. I personally, as an immigrant and a naturalized citizen myself, and a woman of both Asian and Hispanic ethnicities, and one who comes from a family of business owners, it is very important that some of these cultural barriers that we encounter through our communities are met. And we can address those with our incoming business owners. Some of them could be language. That could be one of our barriers. There was also a perception during the COVID-19, and that created a lot of anti-Asian hate crime, which is continuing on. As we had one of our luncheons today, and one of our FBI special agents spoke about that today at our luncheon. Licensing, orientation. People need to know where to go, how to fill out the proper application, technology, and so forth. Also delays in application and zoning, if we talk about the county, the city, or any of these other, the state, if there are inspection errors. As part of one of our cultural barriers that we noticed too, this last few years ago, Sonny then was with us, and Bill, and we talked about, we went to the health district and we had to address cultural issues about kimchi, and we had to address cultural issues about sushi, and that's a very important factor that we need to address with many of our businesses. And that's where sometimes the franchise owners can come in and help us through the education process. And we need the collaboration of all the state, the city, the county, and the federal assistance. Another one of our issues too was accessibility to funding, securement of loans, financing grants. And I know we're talking mostly about Southern Nevada, but in Northern Nevada, we have broadband issues there. And, rural communities are a minority, and we need to look at the issues that we have up there for our businesses too. What are we going to be able to provide for them as far as internet accessibility? Are they going to be able to fill out an application? Are they going to be able to provide water because there's a shortage of water supply? The wells and, irrigation and many of the other issues that are agricultural, but yet it affects us because it's the marketing efforts that we need to encounter, both north and south,
Peter, does that come into play quite often?
It does, and all of those are so important to the success of the entire state, right? Because that's ultimately what it's about. So those are very important things. I just was struck about a thought that Congresswoman Dina Titus led me to think about a little deeper here. A lot of times I think people might drive by some of these franchises, brands, McDonald's, Taco Bell, whatever, and think, that's not local. She made me realize it is local. We got to support them even more now, because what the Congresswoman said about these folks reinvest in our community in so many ways, like give money to so many causes here locally, that now I'm looking at even harder, that we got to push and make sure that they're viewed as definitely local, because it's local ownership and local dollars, and these folks are entrenched with all the causes that we all care about. So you made me think about that.
Well, thank you, Peter. I just want to mention one thing in response to Amber, and I have a previous connection with Amber too, like you have over here, but I won't bring that up. I'm an A student. An A student. She was an A student.
Shocker.
And I was tough too, so. I just wanted to mention that we reauthorized and expanded the state small business credit initiative, and that will help to put some more money out there to give access to that capital that's so needed. So we want to be sure that people are aware of that and what might be available there. So I thank you. I'm leaving you in good hands. I'm going to follow the chairman's advice and get out of the way now. So.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
We appreciate you being here, Congresswoman Titus, and adding to this. Of course it comes up in conversation now, and it will for a long time, the pandemic, and we've already kind of touched on it a little bit, but there are so many amazing stories, as we've already learned, sitting at this table. And Becky's, yours is yet another, because like so many businesses, you were impacted dramatically by the pandemic, but then found a way to persevere.
So this is where I think that being a part of a franchise was very beneficial, because, when everything went crazy and we're trying to deal with, I remember the first night we got a phone call that somebody had COVID, and we're like, oh, anyone that's been around them can't go back. Well, that was 10 people. And then we were like, okay, that's not realistic. So where the franchise was handling all the back end of figuring out the regulations and all of that, we were caring for people. And so when the strip was shut down and businesses were shut down, I was telling Kendall earlier that overnight, our revenue plummeted, because everyone called up and said, oh, I'm going to take care of my own parents. I'm laid off. I don't need help with our kids. We got this. People were afraid to have people come into their homes, so everyone canceled their service. And they said about a month later, they called back and said, this is really hard. Will you please come back? But when the strip was getting ready to reopen, we got a call in early May from a company that said, we just got a contract to do all of the COVID testing for the Sands Corporation. And they want to test every single one of their employees was required to get a COVID test to return to work. But they offered it to all of their families. And they also did the antigen testing, which at the time was a blood draw, if you recall. So they opened up their ballrooms. They had 3 huge ballrooms where we set up in 1 week. My company hired 100 nurses. That is absolutely insane. If I had to hire 5 right now, I would be lucky. So it was around Mother's Day, and I remember my son and my husband delivered a refrigerator up our second story in our office because we needed to refrigerate all the serum that we were using. And my entire team of all women were working round the clock to process and get all of these people onboarded. And we tested, I think, 20,000 people in 3 weeks. And the lab was out of California. They would come in and pick up the specimens at night, drive them to California, process them. They ended up buying a lab here. And I said, I grew up in Las Vegas, and I said that we had a meeting over the Cosmopolitan. And I remember walking in there, and it was pitch black. And the only thing that was going were the slot machines. And there was no sound, just all the neon lights. And I said, I wish I would have filmed this. It was like a scary horror movie. I mean, when I tell the story, it's still the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And we went up into the ballrooms, and I mean, it's like this longest escalator. And we went in there, and they couldn't figure out how to turn on the lights to get, and so this was our story of getting the city back. And I mean, I said, I need to write this down because you forget all the horrors of it. But that was a story of how we got Las Vegas back open and back to work. And we did that testing at the Sands until I think they sold. But it was a great and scary and exciting, and glad it's a little mostly behind us.
Whoever thought we'd have a challenge figuring how to turn the lights back on in a Vegas casino, right? So spooky. Kendall, if I can ask Sonny, because I think, Governor Lombardo's just getting settled in, and would love to hear more about his view of small businesses and role sort of in the recovery and state of the economy these days.
Before I answer that question, if you don't mind, I just wanted to piggyback on a couple of things that they mentioned. So we talked about the pandemic, and I know Anna mentioned one of the challenges that minority businesses have is languages. And I just wanted to expand on that, because when you say languages, a lot of people think about, it's just translation services, right? You just translate an application form, for example, to Chinese or whatever language it is. It's more than that. It's about translating the whole process so the person can understand exactly what's needed, what's entailed in a process. So you talked about PPP. I'm very sad to say that in the first round of PPP, not a lot of Asian businesses were able to do it. Just the sophisticated ones that had accountants that they hired were able to do it. The smaller mom and pop were not able to do it. And one of the things that we found out is they just didn't understand the process. And so we started doing webinars with somebody in their community that could translate for us. And that's kind of like how we got them to say, hey, this is how it works. It's true. And that's when they started applying. Unfortunately, money ran out in the second round. I was a banker at that time. I was a commercial banker. And my bank was a smaller bank. And we did PPPs ourselves, not a third party. And I'm sad to say that I had a stack about this big when they ran out of money, all Asian businesses. So that's why it's very important. They need to know what resources are available, what's out there for them to be able to do it. Same with the franchise, for example. Knowing what the process is, exactly what they have to go through to own a franchise is big. It's really huge for them. So there you go. Now back to your question. I just wanted to start answering that question by thanking the IFA. They named Nevada as one of the top places to start a franchise. Thank you very much. We're in the top 10, I think number 4, correct? Thank you. Yeah. So there's 2 questions to that, right? The first one would be workforce issues and how that works. I'm happy to say that Nevada is classified as a non-registration state, meaning to have a franchise here in Nevada, we do not need to require a franchise to register with the state as a franchise, and they just need to follow the FTC rules pretty much. It goes along our message that we are pro-business. It's a very pro-business state. Like Commissioner Gibson said earlier, we learn when to stay out of the way and when to interfere when needed. Well, when it comes to workforce issues, one of the things that we would like to ask would be to really look at different, licensing rules that would allow certain licenses to be able to get here quickly and work. And I'll give you an example for that. Nursing, for example. During the pandemic, they did pass a a law that for temporary that they will allow other nurses to be able to work here. That's been gone. So now we're working. There's actually a AB 108, which is up there right now, which will allow reciprocity, will allow a nurse to be able to come here. Becky just said earlier, try hiring 5 nurses right now. It's really hard. And rescinding laws like this, Executive Order number 3 and 4 that my boss passed, is pretty much taking a look at those requirements and those laws, reviewing them, not adding to it, but removing and making it easier for somebody to be able to work here in Nevada. As far as franchising, fulfilling the governor's diversity plan, franchising is big. Now, I know that when for a regular person, when you think about franchising, they think about McDonald's, which is of course the gold standard of franchising, or a lot of it is food places, but there's a lot more than that. I love that Becky's here. I love that Nick's here. For example, you've got different types of franchises here. Healthcare is one of the things that we are so short of in the state. And having more bright stars would definitely help, especially in the rural areas, Becky. We've got places in Nevada where healthcare is so short. Let me just share a quick story with you. Around 2017, we went up to West Wendover, beautiful city, and we one of our members opened a liquor store up there, Lee's Liquor, and so we were there to support. And I was standing there talking to the mayor, and I said, "Hey, mayor, this is such a great city. Why don't you open up like a Sun City here, like Mesquite? You're a border state, would be perfect." And he looked at me and said, "Sonny, here's my problem. We don't have a single healthcare place in there." And I'm like, "What?" I have never imagined in my life that I would find a city in the United States with a population of 5,000 or more and not have healthcare in there. And I'm just trying to point out the shortage of, we can use Bright Star over there, for example. And there's others. So if you're interested in franchising, just look up franchises. You'll be able to find so many different ones, and that would really fit you or fit what your passion is. And just one last thing to add, there's a lot of different small business owners out there. There's some business owners that want to be hands-on. I want to do my business my way, right? There's some business owners that say, I want to own a business. I'm just going to pay a consultant, have them open it, and then I'll run it after. But there's also the segment where you want to be able to invest into a business. You want a higher success rate of succeeding. You want somebody to help you and guide you. I say franchising is the answer to that, really, because they're there to guide you. They're there to help market you. Once your doors open, you already have a loyalty-based clients that are there to patronize your business, and that's a big edge over somebody who's starting Sonny's Cleaners or Sonny's Home Care, for example. So, thank you.
Sonny, thank you for that. Kendall, if I can just pivot to Nick now on that topic of franchisor support, because Nick, apparently it's tax season. So, and it's getting there. So I just wanted to turn to you and let you talk about your relationship with your franchisees and how you're helping them through this very busy time for Toro Tax.
Thank you. I'm going to give this a shot one more time. And it's working. Okay. Well, before I move forward, I was burnt. Yeah, it's not going to. Yeah? Thank you, Commissioner. You know what? I'll touch on that real quick. I do want to just salute you for making business in Nevada even easier as a franchisor, and even as I still operate some of my own stores out here. And in comparison, somebody has business in 25 different states, oh my goodness, there's headaches all over the place. And I'm not in the food industry. I don't sell products. I'm a professional services industry. And even then, I have headaches across the country. So thank you for that. Yes, it is tax season. I am not sleeping much. You know what? I guess I hope, and I've seen, Patricia, I see the passion that you have for your business and how strongly both of you, Becky, believe in your franchise system. And I've gotten to see the success of some of our franchisors and how passionate they are. I mean, you see, this industry that we're in, it's a very short time frame. We make all our money, all our businesses in the first quarter of the year, pretty much. So all our people are just running on fumes, but they're pushing straight through it. And we have call centers, Central America, Mexico. We got people out of Colombia, out of Venezuela, and of course right here in Las Vegas at our corporate office. And all we do is support them. It's our job to make our franchisees successful. So if they're successful, we're successful.
Let me ask this of you, Nick, to follow up, and then I want to open this up to everybody. What do you see as the common denominator among those who thrive and succeed at a high level like everyone around here has?
The common denominator of those who strive are the ones who take it seriously. Look, I think we touched on this a while ago. Sonny mentioned it. It's one thing to open up a business by yourself, and it's another to open it up with a franchise. The difference is when you partner with a franchise, you have that backing. But it makes zero difference if you don't take it as if it's yours, if you don't own the brand as if you founded it. Run it like if you created it, believe in the system, follow the model. Otherwise, it's just, what's the point? So to be successful, you have to work at it. Just because you have a successful model, it does not mean it's gonna work for you unless you really give it all you got.
I do a lot of calls for our franchisor about potential franchisees, and at the end of it, I'll call up and be like, "Oh yes," or "Heck no." And I said, if the first questions are how much money I'm going to make and how much do I have to work, I'm like, this probably isn't for you. I mean, obviously we all want to make money and we want to work less, but let's be honest, it's, you know, I'm in 10 years, so the first 10 years is really hard. So.
I just want to say, and I know Amber said, you know, access to capital, and so that you don't have to access some of your equity in your home and all that. However, and we all advocate for that, but if you know your business from the back of the house to the front, if you understand it clearly and you can't get access to capital, absolutely use your home equity. Use every dime you can get and follow your dream. I mean, I know it's risky, but that's what we're about, right? So the common denominator is risk-taking. It's risk-taking. Listen, there's no free ride. You got to take that risk. I took it and built a fairly large real estate company when people said, you know, I wasn't going to be able to do it. You got to take risks. So part of that risk is until we can find you access to capital, sometimes you're going to have to find some of it. And so we'll help you with that as well.
Spoken like a former franchisee.
Well, I just wanted to say risk-taking, definitely. I agree with that 100%. When it comes to access capital, now I know there are different ways to do it, but as a former banker, just to let you know, franchising actually gives you a higher chance of getting approved for a loan, especially if the franchise is a well-known franchise. And, well, number one, SBA, you have to be in the approved list for franchises. That's the number one thing. So that's one, if you're in there and everything else falls in line. I've done several franchise SBA loans in my day, so it's definitely doable. So if that doesn't work, there's traditional ways of doing. There are alternative ways of doing it also. So,
of course, the SBA has now proposed getting rid of the franchise directory, so we're interested to see how that plays out. The SBA is under the impression that it will be good because the question of whether you're approved is eliminated, but now how will lenders deal with some of the questions of affiliation and eligibility? So more to discuss offline there.
Let us know. Let us know how we can help with your fight. Trust me, that's what we do. For example, no joke, I mean, this morning I got a call from Senator Cortez Masto based on a letter that I fired off yesterday on behalf of a constituent. So what Nick said, and I only bring that up because what Nick said is spot on. What we have here in Nevada is not the same in every place. To be able to call, you know, the chairman of the commission, which is the most powerful body, along with the governor, and to be able to have a cell phone number, to be able to call the congresswoman by cell, to be able to fire off a letter to your senator and get a response within 24 hours, it's unique. So let us know how we can fight. We want to help with that fight because we believe in franchises so much here.
There are a lot of things that are impediments to real success, right? There are things that happen out of your control that you can't do anything about. There are a couple of things that are challenging to business generally right now, and that is the workforce. I mean, it is really hard. I mean, I do this, I do it twice a year. I do a job fair. We're using the West Hall. We used the West Hall the last 2 times. We have 4 or 5, 6, I think last time we had 6,500 job seekers come for 11,000 jobs, and it was an incredible experience. But one of the challenges that many of those people have is childcare. Childcare is like, you start listing the challenges that these people face, it comes to the top. Maybe not number 1, but awful close to the top every time. The governor's Workforce Development Board put together a childcare working group, and somehow, I guess because I'm a grandpa with lots of grandkids, I ended up on that board. But I'm telling you, there is a lot that we can do, and the final report is out now. And I encourage businesses across this state to take a look at what is there, because what we realized, what I realized as I sat in all those meetings was there is more we can do. We have all these resources. We have these rec centers sprinkled all around Clark County that are empty during the workday. Why aren't we doing something? When we started looking at what that might be, we realized that there's a charge, right? But you got to pay the child care worker. And when child care specialists get up to $20 an hour and even beyond that, and parents are in the kind of the $20 an hour space, it makes it really tough. But this is a place where whether you're a franchisee or otherwise, if you're in business, you ought to be talking to us about what the real challenges are, because we discovered over time that that's something we've all got to work on. And so the governor's office is leading the charge. Clark County is going to be a major player, and we're going to make a difference. And it won't matter whether you work for Clark County. We have about 10,000 employees, and they have challenges with their families, just like everyone does. But one of the things that we're discovering is that, you know, the workday isn't the same workday for everyone. And if you're in a job where you have to hold over and somebody doesn't show up, so you've got to cover for them, and I think this probably happens more in you know, owner-operator businesses than anywhere else, you need help. And those are things that we're trying to figure out right now. And so your input could really be helpful to us, because I think that's an impediment to real success in business today. Just can't find people, and that's one of the major reasons.
For the second year in a row, the IFA does a franchisor survey, and reported that franchisors reported that the number one concern of small businesses, small franchises right now, is the labor shortage. And you know, it's absolutely the biggest challenge facing franchise businesses, whether you need to find 5 nurses or 5 restaurant workers. It's an incredible challenge out there for finding people.
Yes. Franchises, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, it's a link. And they provide a lot of benefits to the employees, to the community. We need to support the IFA as far as, you know, facilitating sessions, series of sessions, education awareness. Anything that we can assist you with letters of support or any other sessions that we can help other business owners thrive, and that so that they can achieve the American dream. That's what I feel. So, and you know, if they're trying to, if SBA is trying to get rid of, you know, that particular directory that you mentioned, I think this is something that we need to work on too, whether it's a federal or national issue.
Thank you, Anna. We've got you and Peter on the team now, so we'll be in touch.
As we draw near the end of this really great discussion, I want to make sure that we didn't leave any topic untouched that is near and dear to your hearts. And if anybody in the room has a question as well, we'd love to hear that. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add that
I just wanted to add. Okay. That being a franchisee also is important because it allows you to give back to the communities. And for us, we've been able to be a part of the Hispanic Baccalaureate that happens here in Las Vegas. We've sponsored that along with many other things that we do. But for me, the next best thing that I participate in is I'm part of the Ronald McDonald Board of Directors. And so we're building a second home here in Las Vegas. And if for people that are not familiar with the home, it actually provides a home to families with critically sick children at Sunrise Hospital. So being able to participate in that and give to that, we personally donated a large amount of money to that, but that's only possible because of the position that we find ourselves in. And so anyways, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that because if you guys are interested in helping the house out, Ronald McDonald House, childrenscharities.com.
It is an outstanding nonprofit that does so much good. Really, it's beautiful.
Along with that, you know, I'm still also participating in the Ronald McDonald House. But in that, I'll talk about giving back in the community. One of the questions that posed was that, what's the benefit? If you do business in this community, you have to give back. That's your customer base. That is a fundamental business. I learned that many years ago from Ray Kroc. You don't give back to your community, you don't support your community, you don't have customer support. And it's very important. A long time ago, I learned the terminology called LSM, local store marketing. That means you support your high school around your business, you support any nonprofit that can help support the community. It's part of business philosophy that you need to have in order to succeed in this community. I have to say one thing, that 'cause I'm not originally from Las Vegas, and I came in 2007. And after I sold my business, retire, all my friends from Southern California said, when you moving back? I said, why do I want to move back? This is a unique community where I know half the folks in here because once you meet somebody here, you're friends. And friends support friends. And this community, year after year, that when there's a business rise or situation rise, everybody get together and everybody support each other. We support the Latin Chamber or the Urban Chamber as they need it. So it's a friendship, but more importantly that if you have a business, either a franchise or not, it's important that you do support your local community because they are your customer.
And with that, every community you do visit, if you happen to not be in this wonderful, unique city of Las Vegas or in Nevada, still go to franchise restaurants because they're serving the local community there. It's so important. Something I really that hit me hard today.
And franchise home care and franchise tax prep too. So.
Well, yes, I'm going to have to call Nick about my taxes, by the way.
I just wanted to mention as well, there's another opportunity. Of course, we've talked about owning franchise here, but I talked to Mike about certain businesses, for example, that want to become a franchise. And there's a few here. I invited a couple to come here. They just couldn't because, of course, they're busy running their restaurants, but they are really looking forward to becoming a franchise themselves. So.
We believe, Sonny, that there's only two types of businesses out there, franchises and future franchises. So to your point.
So we're approaching the 3:20, so.
Okay, did you have one more thing you wanted to add?
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add just speaking on the value of franchising and also what considering that we're at the Latin Chamber of Commerce. And I didn't really share too much of my story, right? But I come from, I did not go to college. I'm actually a high school dropout, so I come from a very humble home, low resources. And the reason I share that is that because through franchising, I've been able to not only grow my own business for myself, but I've been able to change so many lives in the process. And it really resonates with me with what Patricia was saying and Becky's story. They kind of went into business because they had to. But through franchising, there's so many opportunities to open up businesses without a business background, and that is so important. And I just want to touch on some statistics as far as the Latino community. We're 19% of the U.S. population right now, right? So 1 in every 5 people in the U.S. is Latino. In 20 years, it's projected that 1 in 4. Another 20 years after that, 1 in every 3 people in America will be Latinos. So if you're not going after that demographic, you should hurry up and catch up.
And Nick, I want you to know at the Latin Chamber, we're going to speed that up because we encourage our folks to have babies. So I'm just saying, man. But with that said, you know, Nick, that's a whole nother conversation that is, and I know your story, and I didn't want to share it, what I know, but I'm glad you did, because that's what's great about America, and that's what's great about franchise, right? Not every kid's going to go the traditional route and go to, you know, Stanford and all that stuff. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that kid can't end up owning a great franchise and changing their life forever. So thank you for sharing that. I didn't, you know, listen, I'm the same as you, brother, and it turned out okay. So let's encourage those folks. Let's encourage those young people that we see working at those restaurants. Make sure you say to them when you get your chicken McNuggets, say to that young kid, hey, are you learning the whole operation? Are you thinking about owning this place? Say that to them.
I think this was a home run discussion, Kendall. I don't know about you.
So good. I was going to say, Mike, thank you so much for organizing this. It's been a tremendous panel, and I have the deepest admiration for all of you. Some of you I just met today, and others I've known for a while. And I didn't get a chance to say this at the beginning about Peter. When we're talking about giving back, this guy is the poster man of giving back to the community. You cannot go anywhere where he has not done something or touched some lives. I don't think I've ever served on a board or even seen a board where he is not on the executive committee, and he is doing so much to make everything better in this entire community, and now leading the Latin Chamber of Commerce. So kudos to you, sir, for doing that, and congratulations to all of you for your success, and thank you for sharing with us today. We really appreciate it.
And if I can just say, Kendall, thank you so much for taking time to be here and for moderating this discussion. Special thanks to Jim for being here as well. Very grateful you would join us. Certainly thankful to our buddy Peter for hosting us. Thank you to your whole team for making this possible. I know I learned something by being here today. I hope everybody else did. The goal of the Open for Opportunity campaign is to highlight and showcase real franchisees and franchisors. We did that today, so thank you, especially to the business people, and just a great event, and thanks everybody.
And it really is a team. It really is a team. The people that are around here, from our friends from the Agent Chamber, the governor's office, LVG, you know, like it just goes on and on. Please reach out to all of us. We'll help in any way we can. And thank you for having this here today. This is phenomenal. And Chairman, thank you for never saying no. The man never says no. If he can, he will.